Okay, testing to see if everything's working right. It seems to. So, I started a little early, but it's just because I got a bit nervous, and plus, sometimes when I wait too long, it just I don't know. It gets to me. So, this is going to be the finale. I will find a way to do this until the end. The end of everything. All time and space will fall apart as I finish this. No, anyway, so like... I'm starting, like I did the last one, going over my notes. This person, and I apologize for the ableist language ahead of time. Some of it was just because that is how this person chose to define things. So they're like mental illness, distress versus madness. Mental illness / distress we perceive with sympathy and empathy. We quote unquote know mental illness, distress from real life. Most people don't know madness from real life. Now, Perfect brought up a good point yesterday on the Fluid Voice, and even though it wasn't related to this right here, it was there are studies with relation to this. This is the same breakdowns that occur that cause people that relate to racism, that relate to all sorts of problems. So this person actually, she seems to have the self-awareness to understand that he doesn't have empathy for certain neurodivergent people, but not the understanding of why. And I didn't realize how close the starting point got to the whole problem, which is that if you do not experience human beings who are different in real life, you will probably not perceive them with sympathy or empathy. So, for instance, someone might not perceive sympathy or empathy with someone who uses a wheelchair because they don't see that in real life. If that person happens to not see that. And this is part of the reason why accessibility is important, so more disabled people are out and about and can be perceived with sympathy and empathy. Now, me, I'm atypical. I spoke with people with mental disabilities in high school. I tried to be friends with everyone in high school, so I was motivated to try to be friends with everyone regardless. I didn't try to section people off into cliques, which got me in a lot of trouble with some cliques, but also made me sort of the good one, and it was a whole mess. But yeah, and my grandmother used a wheelchair. A friend of mine shortly after high school had a schizophrenic cousin who I met before they were schizophrenic and after. And this is the thing where it's not... The thing is, ultimately, people are people. But anyways, the examples being given here, mad scientist, which essentially is a neurodivergent person overfocused on scientific results over the cost. Essentially, usually a particular brand of autistic person portrayed in a villainous fashion. Mad hermit, neurodivergent, focused on nature over humanity, which I mean, that's also potentially, like, a lot of these are just, I mean, that's another type of person who is autistic coded, and that being viewed as a bad thing. Mad King, neurodivergent, portrayed as unpredictable and unreliable due to form of neurodivergence. This usually the type of neurodivergence is for that sort of stuff is basically a variety of types of neurodivergence involving breaks from reality, usually with Mad Kings, but it's another thing where someone is vilified for a particular type of neurodivergence, despite the fact that most people with who are neurodivergent in some sort of way are either just not allowed jobs by society because they're viewed as lesser, including myself, but like also there is the possibility of if someone's going to be, who happens to be neurodivergent in a particular way, is usually more likely to be a harm to themselves than to other people. Usually the people who harm people are neurotypical, and people don't want to accept that. Anyways, axe murder, often neurodivergent, therefore killer. Axe murder can be any various forms of neurodivergent, usually one which has breaks from reality, but it's yeah, it's like madness doesn't evoke sympathy/empathy, it scares us. I mean, none of this scares me. I already went over reasons why that stuff doesn't scare me, but basically, ultimately, if you're too unknown, you're viewed as a danger to society. If you're too far from the norm. And that's just discrimination. Anyways, deep-seated fear of becoming mad. That is obviously the acknowledgement, unknowing acknowledgement of the fear of becoming disabled, which is all throughout society. I went into this more last video, and the video before probably. We had the, what kind of person expresses herself this way? A person who's different from you. Anyway, sorry. So, and then there's all these rules, which are very out of the blue and do not seem well thought out. Especially because there are almost always rules that don't apply. Anyways, rule number 1, externalizing conflict. Basically, this person says if you hallucinate, you're mad and therefore don't deserve sympathy or empathy. Quote unquote, madness is externalized in appearance, i.e., ugly laws make sense to me. Was my, a little bit harsh in this, but understandably, wrong artistic expression equal madness. Yeah. Oh, that was with because I think I think Schnee here was talking about the Jinx's spray painted art, and like the artistic expression shouldn't be part of a categorization for madness, and in fact a lot of artistic expression is a very healthy thing to do. Rule number 2, one belongs to the real world, one belongs to the quote-unquote mad world. Mad world, sorry. That song's about different stuff, but like this is one of those weird things that doesn't... Rule number 2 didn't have a clear explanation. Because the problem is everyone views the world in a slightly different way. And there isn't a clear distinction on what is qualified as the mad world, unless it's just talking about with relation to hallucinations, but Jinx does not inherently... this is a problem. I watched the stupid cinema therapy, and they kept saying that Jinx has delusions, but oftentimes Jinx does not accept things being said as inherently true or false, or even accept her hallucinations as inherently true or false. I don't know. It's not simple like that. And not to say that Jinx isn't influenced at all by her trauma. She is. But yeah. Anyways, rule number 3, quote unquote, mad world breeds conflict, has largely related to inner conflict, which relates to any mental illness slash distress by his own definition. So yeah, mental illness slash distress is internal conflict. Like depression is you beating yourself up. Anxiety is internal conflict. Like everything that's... You can't use broad definitions like that if you're trying to make a rule for how someone is quote unquote legitimately viewed as an other. And there was some othering conversation in cinema therapy, which was also problematic. Anyways, rule number 4, world of paradoxes, extreme action that only makes sense in the mad world. I think that was with relation to Jinx shooting off the rocket, and I was just like, wrong. Jinx destroys the council because it's to what her knowledge Silco wanted. It's a memorial to Silco and a lashing out against society. Those things are not mad. It's just that Jinx has, like, all of Undercity has been oppressed by Piltover. It's not mad to try to stop oppression with the information you have. Tragedy is commitment to the quote-unquote mad world. No, the tragedy is everything about the situation. A lot of people were working with the best information they had and still lost. That is what makes it a tragedy. Rule number 6. Oh god, that was when he went to the Hill Hitler stuff. We view mad moments from our perspective, trouble with notes, because dear god, this person flew too far from reality. Yes, blinding positivity shows Gollum, but ignores the fact that Jinx is crying. She's clearly not trying to make anything better. So, yeah, this is why I say that Jinx was lashing out. She was crying and angry and shooting off a memorial, effectively, like. And the thing is, there were a lot of people, there were a lot of Nazis who thought things were fine, and to say that, oh, what, Germany was temporarily mad, and then it wasn't, but also still mad, like, it's a very irrational way of viewing things, and likely relates to the fact that this entire video is essentially cognitive dissonance in a nutshell. He came to a good conclusion and then didn't like the conclusion, so he tried to come to a different conclusion that fit more into a more categorized version of reality, where he has to, because he feels the need to separate people who are too different over because of the fear that he could become too different too. I don't know. It's a whole messed up thing. Rule number 7: positivity and build up. Grief, build up or grief. The quote-unquote dam breaks when the person becomes too weird for this creator. Character needs to quote-unquote fix the world or quote-unquote get back at fake. Yeah, that was one of those weird things where it's like, yeah, you can have... Oh yeah, the whole point is, if we're talking about paradoxes, everyone has good and bad aspects to them in Arcane. There is no inherently good person in Arcane. The whole point is everyone's paradoxical. That's part of what it means to be human. Anyways, rule number 8, Inception. This trauma and difference for me equal... Okay. Sorry. Some of my notes are just making fun of this. I swear. The trauma and difference for me equals mad equals don't have to feel sympathy or empathy for this human being. That's more of the othering. Rule number 9, spiritual... Oh my god, this... Oh god. Yep, no, I'm remembering this. So these notes are important for me too. Spiritual deterioration. So like, this was used for some sort of thing, but this person manages to distort it to make it awful. So connection to your community is helpful, yes. Connection to your community is generally helpful. You can feel safer, and people are less likely to attack people they know, sometimes. Connection to your family. But it doesn't have to be your biological family. Your found family, having a found family, connecting to them, because this is the thing about oppression, is your biological family can hate you. Like, my friend Robin, who died recently, one of her, like, she was bi when she was alive. One of her brothers was a Proud Boy, or is a Proud Boy, and hates everything about her existence. Her father watches Fox News constantly. Like, and I believe to some degree has disowned her, although I don't think her mother really could commit to something that awful. I assume that her mother is the only reason Robin was able to have a place to live out the last few months of her life after she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Anyways, connection to yourself. Understanding yourself is important. Sure, and this is one of those things where I don't necessarily disagree with this. Connection to your body. Yes, although that one can be twisted in a number of ways, but understanding what causes you pain, what makes you feel okay, can relate to connection to yourself. Like, there are ways you can formulate this. And then the final was connection to something greater, which I think was the one that got distorted, because obviously you can... So I have an ethical perspective that I want to cause the least... I want a society to form that causes the least amount of harm possible, and no, there's no society where no harm can be caused. But it is still something greater. I have a problem with abuse and manipulation. And I there's a lot of stuff I have a problem with. And I want to fight to try to make the world better. I'm emotionally motivated for that. But anyways, this person's like... Oh yeah, I have counterpoints for stuff. So while I agree with this for the majority of people, there are aspects of this that are good, but like relationships keep us sane, I have in quotation marks. And that relates to family, community, friends. And I gave the counterpoint, some people like being alone and shouldn't be viewed as evil for not wanting to have relationships. I think the thing is, I think I have always thought that diversity makes the world a beautiful place, and you can't have that and just have inane stuff that's just different. Be viewed in such a negative light. Quote unquote, madness destroys relationships. Counterpoint, relationships involve more than one person. It's not just one person destroying relationships. The attitude of considering certain neurodivergence as evil also destroys relationships, which is true. And I say the person that says lack of community creates paranoia. Person change, therefore deterioration of self. WTF. And I have quote unquote isolation from identity. Yeah, this is the whole reason for the behind homophobia, transphobia, and most forms of ableism, deciding who someone truly is instead of accepting that the person has changed. And in fact, that is part of the arc. Vi does not accept that Jinx has changed. Vi has not accepted that. So it's very much one of those things. This is a flaw of Vi, that she is unable to accept Jinx. Disconnection from humanity. Oh yeah, this is what the person mentioned. Oh god, yeah, this is one of the most hated circumstances. Anyways, 101 on how to dehumanize people to justify you being okay with their death. The restricted view of what it means to be human has been the justification for the Holocaust, for most, as well as for most types of genocide. And the thing about the Holocaust, and I brought this up yesterday, and it's just one of those things that just irks me. The majority of people, there are books written about this, the majority of people who were Nazis were not people who believed fully in the ideology, but they were fine with the lesser beings not caring what happens to the lesser beings. Rule number 10, moment of agency. The character chooses madness. Madness arcs are about trying to save the character from madness. Character accepting themselves equals bad. Oh yeah. So like, the thing is, there are things that don't have a cure, and looking for... It's one of those things where simultaneously there are whole arcs about how you shouldn't look for cures, and there are whole arcs about how it's important for you to try to fix people. Speaking of fixing people, now we are into the final part of this video, so I can burn it. I mean, I can't burn it. This is a person with 6K more subscribers than they had a while ago. I'm probably gonna look at these comments because I hate everything. Anyways.
This video is about mana specifically. I'm interested in developing solutions to just that aspect. I'd be lying myself if I thought I could fix the finale as a whole, or the show as a whole, like with all the plot lines and everything. Too much, not smart enough. Happy to let someone else make that video. So here I'm just gonna throw like 10 or 12 videos for fixing Dany's madness arc on its own, and then I'm gonna call it.
Oh, so this will give me a lot of that. So like, I didn't watch Game of Thrones past like season 4. So like...
So before we discuss identities or anything like that, it starts with a trigger. She needs a crossing of the threshold moment, like Deagle's murder, like Boromir's death, Billy's imprisonment, Tyler killing the family. I mean, something that traumatizes her, isolates her, and gives her story space to dream of mad worlds and mad identities. Let me just shoot out
Okay, I just want to get this over. This might be part of the reason for me playing this into XP. Okay.
six possibilities here that will mostly accomplish the same thing. We'll discuss the differences. Number one of Dany's dragons is killed while she's on it, and we get the trauma of the first dragon death along with severe injury to Dany from the fall. 2, she kills the...
So like, yeah, trauma is a trigger for a lot. Not a lot. Certain types of neurodivergence have trauma triggers. Certain types of neurodivergence don't.
The ice king his dragon with hers, but his final attack freezes her so severely with some dark Night King magical ice that it's his curse lingering on that end of torturing her, like Frodo's blood injury. Not only do we have Night King magic corrupting her, but the abomination that is a fire and blood Targaryen being frozen. 3, similar factors too. She's captured and tortured by the Night King for a prolonged period of time. 4, she is tricked into killing one of her own dragons. Very powder-like trauma of being haunted by this worst sin of hers. Maybe her own dragons turn on her as a result of this, and she has to increasingly cruel to them to get them in line, and that itself drives her madness even further. 5, she finds out about Jon's lineage, embraces him as a family member, her only one left, family is the strongest line ever, and then for political reasons he betrays her, and she's left truly alone or nearly alone this time. 6, she and Jon fall in love, get together, and despite being told she can never have children, she miraculously conceives again, and then either miscarries again, or whatever's growing her is even more of an abomination than last time, and her madness increases as this evil air that should not be grows inside of her. Okay.
A lot of times with any sort of writing thing is oftentimes these are cheap storylines, and I mean, they might be able to be done well, they might not. Well, the traumatic pregnancy thing, I don't know, something about that feels really lame in terms of the way it would likely be written. And I don't know about the other stuff, because a lot of these are, hey, here's something that might happen, even though I don't have a reasoning for the stuff.
Okay, so again, all of these provide trauma that can build, and also they provide a practical reason for Danny to become isolated. She becomes isolated because she needs to heal from her battle wounds, or because she's pregnant, or because she's recovering from a miscarriage, or she becomes isolated in captivity, or she becomes isolated in prolonged grief after her first dragon dies.
So isolation is not. Well, guys, for one thing, Jinx became isolated to some degree, but also ended up with a found family of sorts. So, like, it wasn't even complete isolation. And Silco was always isolated. And so Silco needed somebody.
Or she's betrayed and actually is isolated by her allies. And during this period of isolation, we get the chance for her to start externally manifesting the conflicts. And it's positive because there's another shortcoming here that had so much potential. The topic is historical inspiration. So I've seen how people point out in this scene we get a very on-the-nose visual parallel to the Nazi rallies in Nuremberg, and I love drawing on history for creative stuff, but there's a way to do it. If you just have Danny do rallies and have flags and make her unsullied wear dragon armbands and goose step and say Heil Danny, it comes off as lazy. It's like, I don't want to think up interesting villain stuff, let's just copy and paste from the most obvious villain in history. Laziness to the degree that is that noticeable is distracting and it breaks immersion. That's the biggest problem. But a subtler problem here is that there's nothing inherently evil about these things. It's not like goose stepping or holding big rallies is actually an expression of just how evil this movement was. So you're borrowing the wrong stuff. You're just trying to create a superimposed association to evil from our own world. And it's a shame because there are elements that could have drawn on from Hitler and his movement that absolutely express exactly the kind of evil identity they were building for Danny. Let me give you two perfect examples if you permit me to dip into history again. The Colosseum in Rome held about 50,000 people. Pretty crazy if you think about the world population back then. Cut to modern times, biggest stadium in the US is the Michigan Stadium, holds 107,000 people, twice the Colosseum, over 100,000 people in one place. And then current biggest stadium in the world, India with an Narendra Stadium, capacity of 132,000, crazy number. Okay, so if you go to Nuremberg today, you can see the foundations of the Grand Stadium commissioned by Adolf Hitler. According to Hitler's plans, the Deutsche Stadium's capacity was, are you ready for it? Over 400,000 people. That's 8 Colosseums. This was a stadium he saw serving his world Nazi empire. Near the stadium is the Nazi parade ground. It's about 2 miles long, wide as a 10-lane highway, and it's made not of asphalt like a normal road.
Okay, but that's not. Building a big building is not inherently like a good or a bad thing. That's what?
Road, not of cement. It's made of granite. It's made out of stone that would last thousands of years because in Hitler's delusional dreams of his eternal Reich, Nazis would be marching upon it in their glorious parades for thousands of years. And these delusional dreams of Hitler's were externalized physically into the city of Nuremberg. The stuff is still there.
See, I don't like this. I don't like this set of reasoning. This is one of those things where it's like, I'm not really saying anything new here. This is just it's like you could make the same argument for the Lincoln Memorial. Like in the crazy dreams of the American government, you know, they thought people would be praising Lincoln forever. Like, that's not, I mean, I realize Lincoln Memorial is done by other people, but like, you know, the mountain which we corrupted and threw heads on top of, and by threw heads on top of I mean destroyed a monument to some people for the purposes of making a monument to other people. Like, that's not expecting your country and your ideology to be maintained is not a crazy thing. Every country has some aspect of it or another. Like, that's a terrible example to use.
You can walk on the Grand Nazi Road, you can see the construction site of the stadium along with shells of other delusionally enormous building projects in various states of construction.
What do you mean delusionally? Like, like, this person's reasoning for why it's delusional is essentially that it failed. Like, that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason to use it as an example.
Construction and deconstruction like the Zeppelin fields and the Grand Congress Hall that's so big they don't even know what to do with it nowadays. You can go to Germany today and reach out and touch Hitler's madness. So Danny wants to
Hitler was not mad. That's the problem. You can believe in eugenics, and a lot of this video makes eugenics type arguments. You can believe in this and not be mad. The problem isn't any sort of neurodivergence. The problem is that hatred can spread like this, and categorizing people as mad is an easy way to pretend that you could never fall into cruel ideologies. But the fact of the matter is, every human being out there has the possibility to go down a set of incredibly unethical reasoning by modern day standards. Most people in America were fine with slavery too. Until... No, some people in America are still fine with slavery. It's messed up. Like, you can't just simplify things that way, and that's an easy way to discount valid opinions by people who are too different from you and who you need to fix, and instead of find a way so that they can live comfortably. Like, Jinx's choice. Jinx didn't choose madness. Jinx chose her own identity instead of trying to force herself into a different identity. Or at the very least, that was her attempt at a choice, and it's very much not a simple thing, and it's very, like, if I had schizotypal disorder or whatever, but I still stated true things, I would be discounted for my opinion because I'm too mad, regardless of if that opinion is correct. This is why what you do and what you say matters, in my mind, more than who you are and how different you are.
A world empire very similar to this. Instead of telling us these characteristics of Dany's mad delusional dream world, lack of wars, lack of certain political realities, too abstract a picture that show us our world, show us plans for the capital of our empire with like a castle of 10,000 rooms. Viserion and Rhaegal are dead, half her plan colossal them that would dwarf the Titan of Braavos. This is the type of thing that can very easily and vividly externalize itself. We see her dreaming of this as she's in captivity, being tortured in fever dreams while recovering from her injuries. We see her waking up in dreams of her grand city, walking through the streets, feeling the grandeur, becoming more and more driven to convey it to her most loyal followers, bring it into reality. We see her ordering craftsmen to create city models that cover her entire throne room. We see her actually begin to build the foundations. Let's say there's a Westerosi city that declares for her, and she orders the entire city demolished to clear room for her grand imperial palace. And we get these scenic shots of city-like foundations for a single building. And maybe later we learn that she had the people all killed because she'll have no Westerosi sullying her heavenly royal city. So all this feeds really well into one track that they already had in place, half-baked, but it was there this time.
They should do this one thing. Oh, they kind of did it, but they didn't do it in... But I still feel this way. Okay, I'm gonna make up more reasons for why. Like, it's just...
Tyrant to end all tyrants, and just be making concrete her vision of her queendom, this version of what she wants to build, that we can see. Her attachment to that vision, anything she does because of it becomes more believable because we see her building it. So that fits that. But there's also another half-baked track they had, but also had tons of potential, which was the Targaryen. You really have...
So, like, this is one of those things where I feel like in some ways The Witcher has a better understanding of discrimination than this person, and The Witcher doesn't even do it perfectly, but it's very much... Discrimination comes in stages, and nothing is simple. like this person's discrimination against neurodivergent people. At first, it starts with, oh, these people are too different, so therefore most people are fine with them being sent to institutions or other places where they can't escape. And then, oh, we can't afford to feed people properly in these institutions. Let's feed them rotting food and other such stuff that's going on in the internment camps, where we are housing thousands of people trying to flee a deadly place into America, and we are making America a deadly place for them. It's
They have this very vivid, fully functional version of literally everything I'm talking about in this video, both the rules and some of the possibilities we just suggested. They had that with Mad King Ares. With him, the madness had already begun, but we get the story of him being captured and enduring torturous months in captivity, and thus began his mad
okay, but those are outside the TV show.
fixation on cruel punishments, most specifically burning people alive. He develops this fascination with wildfire, and he starts raving all these fire, dragon-related things, and that is the other path to take Dany. General Targaryen dragon fire themed things. The burning people alive thing, even if it is the same as her dad, I think that path would work just fine. First, it's people who would deserve it for not bending the knee or for betraying her, and then becomes a crazy obsession on its own. She starts demanding to see people less and less.
Okay, but like, so here's the thing. Nobody views, so like, Jinx has a tendency to not view enforcers as humans, because enforcers have on some level killed or gotten people killed that she cares about. So like, yeah, Jinx doesn't have a problem with killing enforcers, and Jinx doesn't have a problem killing people to protect Silco. But like, if we're talking about, that's not the same as seeing nobody as human. That's dehumanization of certain people because it makes it easier for that person to kill those people. Now, Caitlyn was an exception, which is why Jinx didn't kill Caitlyn, because Caitlyn is someone who Vi likes. And Jinx cares about Vi, which is why Jinx didn't kill Caitlyn. It's whatever.
She sees herself as purifying Westeros, something extreme like that. And watching these burnings are these intensely satisfying experiences for her. I think that much limited so much for her. Or going back to the isolation scenarios from before, maybe in grief for her dragon, she wants images of dragons, bones of dragons, dragon scales constantly around her, close to her to ease her grief. Maybe she starts dressing in dragon scales, maybe even the actual scares of her own dead dragon, to get some good deterioration of humanity going. Maybe as she's recovering from her Night King's cursed icy injuries, she demands enormous fiery braziers brought into her room next to her bed, making her room impossibly hot. Maybe she starts referring to herself instead of as Mother of Dragons as the Dragon Mother, and suddenly we're starting to be reminded of her mad brother. Now you've woken the dragon. We hear her using that phrase and we're like, oh, or that's Suchizi on the nose or whatever, a less intense option that's equally tied to lore. As she's recovering from her injuries or her failure or betrayal, she turns to her ancestors for wisdom. She becomes obsessed with Targaryen history and all these historical facts of the Mad Kings and the Targaryens, which she thought would horrify her. She's entranced by it. She begins to idolize figures like her own father. The determination to be that ruthless in maintaining order. She relates to that as her own plans crumble. She sees that as heroic. And we see her withdraw from her actual relationships and devoting more and more to this bond with her dead father, who she feels like she's bonding with in this irrational way by letting his mad ways guide her. Maybe we even go the Jinx route and have her make a life-size idol of him. She demands her subjects bend the knee to, especially those connected with Robert's rebellion, undo their betrayal by swearing to their true king. And if you want to take it a step further, you could have her exhume her father's remains, do like a fully fledged Lenin, or just a bone of his or ashes of him becomes this precious object, or she erects a shrine of some kind.
Okay, this person's definitely American. They're talking about the whole Lenin thing like it's a mad thing, which makes this person, it seem like this person might think basically anything that strays too far from how things are now to be mad by this person's reasoning. So basically, the type of person who ignores problems that exist in favor of the status quo. and instead of trying to improve things, just assumes that it's okay to let these people die because they don't matter as much, or it's their fault that they're starving. It's not like there were impossible goals.
And obviously, to take it further in the classic way, you have her start to hear her father's voice in her head, thinking he's guiding her personally. Okay, and now with all of this, maybe we have enough to start combining some parts of this together, up the epicness levels a bit. Across the narrow sea, we have Valyria, the ancient capital of a super powerful empire full of all kinds of lost magic and technology, completely destroyed by some natural disaster, seemingly Pompeii-like. And Targaryens are the blood of old Valyria. So combine Dany being obsessed with her ancestors and Dany having fever dreams of her grand capital city, and what do we get? We have Dany dreaming of rebuilding the old empire of her bloodline. She doesn't just want to win the Iron Throne; she wants to level all of King's Landing and establish new Valyria in its place. A kingdom so powerful it harkens back to the strength of ancient empires of legend. And we get this growing fantasy for her literally wiping out all memory of Westeros to seat of royalty and its people from history, so she can have this dream empire of hers. And you go further with voices here, hearing the voice of her ancestors. You never hear hundreds of voices, thousands. The ghosts of old Valyria entreating her to rebuild. Okay, now this is all the mad world, mad identity part of things, but remember, it's
Okay. Maybe people didn't want to make stuff super tropey. Maybe people didn't want to make it seem like any type of hallucination makes someone inherently evil.
the conflict that really makes these madness arcs work. I love the idea of this three-pronged setup. Cersei is getting more and more evil, which is how things do play out in the show as it is. But for her, it's not madness. It's her becoming crueler, more ruthless, more corrupt. Then we have Dany's
right there. Cersei doing bad stuff was her becoming more evil and corrupt. But if you become evil and corrupt and are just too neurodivergent or whatever, apparently you're considered far enough different, too different, and therefore othered. Like, this person can apparently accept that neurotypical people can be evil in an imaginary world, but seems to view real life circumstances of people who became more and more ruthless. This person seems to view those people as mad because this person can't imagine a neurotypical version as being that evil in real life, because then that would be accepting that it is possible for this person to become that evil. And it's just like, oh god, I hate this video. It's cognitive dissonance. It's
which is actually becoming more and more good. We see this trickling towards her of all the individual characters who are pretty moral, pretty wise, good leaders, noble knights, loyal characters, admirable characters, cool characters, and then we have Dany herself, who all the previously mentioned goodies are behind. She is what unites them. They want to put her on the throne. But the closer and closer they get to victory, the madder their queen becomes. And I'm using Jinx's role in Arcane as the basis here too. We have the good guys, the bad guys.
So, like, yeah, Silco is a bad guy. Caitlyn is a good person. Vi is possibly more of an anti-hero. Hard to say.
But it all comes down to this one character and whether or not she chooses sanity or madness. And there's this real effort by
Still hate that framing. It's the tragedy is everyone else. It's everything else. It's just like it's a set of if Vi had not caused the trauma with Jinx, it is possible. It didn't unintentionally evoke the trauma with Jinx. It is possible that Jinx wouldn't have killed Silco. And Jinx killing Silco is the reason why she fired the rocket. Like, there's a lot of memorial aspects because Silco was her dad. For a good portion of her life. Like 7 years.
By her side to keep her sane. There's this confusion and disagreement about whether to stay loyal to her, and there's this tragic realization on Dany's own part that she is going mad, or at least a realization of the possibility that she's mad. Uncertainty about this vision of hers, or this identity of hers. And we see this determination of hers to be a good queen, a leader worthy of followers like Jon Snow or Jorah or Tyrion. She wants their validation, but she also feels burdened by it, frustrated by the inability to see her vision, inability to understand her behavior, her grief, her pain, inability to understand her admiration for her Targaryen ancestors. And we see this waver between frustration and outright resentment. Maybe we even get furious sometimes. This is what she starts to see as betrayal, her followers not understanding her, and with the paradox thing we have her fearing all these various forms of madness, but also running
Yeah, no, that's not how the brain works.
towards the madness when she craves its sense of empowerment, or if it's this identity she's taking on, this dragon self. It inspires her and scares her. In these visions of New Valyria for her, she's caught between this grand.
I feel like aspects of those are just desperately trying to figure out how people can. I think this person can't accept that people can be different and it not being not being someone's fault. People can be neurodivergent, and some of that can be invoked by trauma, but it's not them choosing to be neurodivergent. Oftentimes, if there's a choice, it's to stop masking, to stop pretending to be normal, and to accept who you are as a valid thing, and focus less on your feelings as being good or bad, and more on your actions, and your words and your actions, and whether or not those are good or bad. So, like, if someone enjoys the idea of killing and or harming people, but never does it, that doesn't make them a bad person inherently. And that then you get into more complicated situations. Let's say someone enjoys, on an emotional level, enjoys the idea of killing or harming people, and does so to once to defend someone else, prevent harm to someone else. Does that make them a bad person? I don't think so. Because their actions, even if they're done in an atypical way, are for the purpose of trying to help people. And it's not, you can't break life down this simply.
Grandness and also visions of another doom. If you do the pregnant thing, maybe she fears what's inside her but also loves it. Maybe she grows paranoid or jealous of it. Okay, so what about the final trigger, the grief trigger? What shatters Dany's world and breaks her dam? So I still do think that far and away the best option would be to kill dragons. Best of the best would be if we first see dragons killed here. Rhaegal and Viserion both get killed by the scorpions. Dany goes nuts on Drogon. But even if we have one or two of them dead before this, I think coming to King's Landing on Drogon and then Drogon getting shot and wounded badly, and then in panic and fury and desperation and grief, Dany lays waste to King's Landing on a dying Drogon. I think that also works. We and Dany both think Drogon is dying, and this determination that we have to win before we lose Drogon. That's what makes her turn him loose completely, not caring who or what she destroys. And then after the battle, we could have him survive. And now we have a Dany who is empowered by the experience of unleashing hell like that. And then from there, it would be the same progression as the current finale. Dany wants more power, wants to burn everyone. Jon
Yeah, see, this is one of those things where when I said it, this only happens once. So this is the assumption that if you have certain emotions which are viewed as bad, if you act on them, even if you're doing so and you cause nothing but good, that you will fall into doing evil stuff. But that also is not how the world works. Life isn't that simple, and if you understand yourself, you can make the decisions on what you do. You can't make the decisions on what you feel. And this entire talking point is used to shame anyone if they're too different, that they should put all the energy it takes to mask, because if they don't, then they're clearly a walking time bomb. And I hate that talking point because it causes harm. This talking point, this aspect of society, is there to justify eugenics against disabled people. It's one of the aspects that is used to justify eugenics of disabled people. If their personality happens to be too different, it's very bad.
And if it's not dead dragons that send her over the edge, next best option would be everyone betraying her, which is also something they tried to do. But we could do it so much more strongly. If we do have this progression for getting matter, as her good people following gets closer to victory, we have them reach a breaking point with her, they turn on her and bend the knee to Jon, the other Targaryen. Daenerys escapes on Drogon, and now unfettered by all these weak advisors, she does what she's been dreaming of doing up until now, and we burn. If we do the Grand City thing, and she's already started building anything, that could also be the Dammaker. She's building a city, Dany destroys it, and Dany has to destroy King's Landing in retaliation. She's building a Colossus, it gets toppled. She's building statues of Targaryen ancestors for people to bow to, they get destroyed. Dany retaliates with her own worst destruction. That all works, I think. If you do the option of her being pregnant, I think miscarriage, having the baby be born, and then someone kills it, totally reasonable Dammaker for her. Even more horrifying, have Dany kill it in her madness, have her burn it. That'd be the worst and most perfect, and probably the most straightforward option considering we have 2 more seasons. Make a character like Missandei actually become a super close confidant for her, and then die. We have time for that now. It could work. And if you do it with a lot of characters, have Tyrion become her most trusted advisor, the one who stands by her, the one who keeps her sane, and we kill him. Jorah keeps being ultimate simp number 1, he stands by her, and we kill him. Grey Worm you could probably theoretically do. Jon Snow I think needs to stay alive, but lots of options, lots of relationships to work with. Go all in on one of them, and then kill that person. Totally valid Dammaker. Okay, that's it. I think I'm done. Agency moment is fine. Keep the bells. It works. And again, I'm not trying to fix the rest of what's wrong with season 8. None of this has to do with fixing, for example, the decision to make Bran king, which I thought was by far the dumbest moment of the finale. And so much of what I'm proposing totally isn't really Game of Thrones style. Even the World War II stuff, that's not what the series tends to do. George Martin is about to do some fascinating type of managed wrong from medieval history. And also, by the way, it is hard to do madness in the show that has had 8 seasons of no madness. At that point, the audience is used to characters acting somewhat rationally. They're not used to outrageous behavior. They're not used to delusions. They're not used to voices. They're used to smarts and cleverness and ruthless pragmatism and all that political drama stuff. With madness, there's this risk that if it's too much, even by a little bit, it's totally cheesy and not believable and stupid and breaks immersion. And if it's not enough, even by a little bit, it's out of character and it's random and it's not believable and stupid and breaks immersion. Very little wiggle room to work with here. So if your criticism of anything I'm suggesting is that it's going too far, I hear that totally valid. But that's not the point of the video. This is about learning more about madness and using Game of Thrones as raw material for an exercise.
But it's not about learning about madness. It's about no. This is just. I hate this.
And I highly recommend this type of exercise. Any writers out here listening to this, find a story that does something really well, induce methods and rules, try your best to apply those methods and rules to a story that fails to do that same thing. And they'll usually involve new, interesting angles of diagnosing the problems.
It's very much a way of othering certain types of neurodivergence. And portraying them as evil and going to cause destruction. It's.
Stuff you learn, and then you can adapt all these lessons, think of a bunch of new ways of going, and see how they play out. How will things actually turn out in Game of Thrones? I'm absolutely sure George Martin will have a fantastic madness arc full of new tidbits to learn, new methods, new rules, etc. I guess we'll see in the next 40 to 50 years. So we hit 100,000 subscribers, which is unbelievable. I started making arcane videos in mid-November last year, so it's just over 8 months. I think this has been so insane. I've always liked thinking about this stuff on my own, but I never imagined this kind of response. It's really humbling, and I'm really grateful. Thanks to everyone who watches, subscribe or not subscribe. I'm just happy you stopped by to watch and share the ideas and participate in the discussion. Thanks to the patrons as always. And as a last note here, if you'll indulge me a bit, I'd like to dedicate this video in the event of reaching 100K to one of my main teachers who passed away just a couple months ago. He really laid the foundations for me with analysis in general. I talked about this in the Q&A.
Trees. It's hateable, yeah. Okay, so. Okay, here's it. Oh. I'm just seeing if any of these comments are just. Yeah, so someone with PTSD, I interpret the scratching as a visual representation of the triggers of the past lingering you want to, but can't. Many of those triggers exist within your own mind. You're not 100% and are not 100% external. I haven't had psychotic episodes like Jinx has regularly. I don't see/hear things in a literal sense, but I will often have memories suddenly intrude into my mind and take over for a moment if I don't fight it every day through methods my therapist helped me with. Though anti-anxiety needs to help as well. To me, animators were trying to convey the idea of a mental irritant that leads you down to return to a moment, which is the representation of that trauma. Mine is not as extremely acute PTSD like Jinx's. Mine's more of CPTSD from 25 years or more of moderate traumas, but feels very similar. To me, at least, Jinx feels like a victim of PTSD, but one who doesn't know how to accept help due to how severe it is and how her world is even less equipped than ours to help victims. So, like, that comment is actually not too bad. Yeah, see, this is one of those things. Yeah, see, this is one of those things where I feel like a lot of it falls into, you know, one of the good ones. Your version of neurodivergence is not unacceptable. But if you have neurodivergence, which we don't, it's not like we have a cure for hallucinations. It's not like we can inherently make alters go away. The thing is, this person seems to miss the mark in terms of the fact of the matter that acceptance is a healthy thing. And it's part of moving on. It's actually... I just, yeah, I don't... These comments aren't interesting enough, and... Oh my god, yeah, it's various, I don't know, I don't think I can deal with this anymore. I'm gonna just stick and be friends with, Morgana cooking, gingerbread man. Morgana, you'll be my friend. No, it's just, I think ultimately, the video, my final thoughts, I guess, as I will eventually destroy that, piece of paper, my final thoughts are, yeah, I lied, I put my logo. My final thoughts, I guess, are that, I don't know why chat's not showing up in I need to figure that out eventually. Sorry. Words. Yeah, so like ultimately the video is very much, I feel like, cognitive dissonance that of a person who can't accept certain people as human. And just the level of I apparently can't words well. It's very it's it's very much, even before Jinx did anything obviously bad, I don't think this person would necessarily, if they continue with this attitude, I don't think they would genuinely care what happens to Jinx. In fact, this person admits to as much. But doesn't see that as a problem, the overall cultural problem, so much as something which is good for writing. It's a very detached point of view. I said detached, closed captions. Anyways, yeah, I don't think I have too much more to say than what I already have. I feel like this is too early to end things. So the question is, do I add more trauma? No. No, I don't. I'm just gonna end it here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone for showing up. Anyone who watched. A wonderful day. Next week I won't be able to have an episode because next week will be my therapy appointment. It's one of those things where I had a couple scheduling choices and it was easiest just to cut this. I will still be streaming on Twitch Monday a week from now. I don't plan on taking breaks from Twitch at the moment. I know I was sick last week, and then my computer, I was just gonna take like a couple days off, and then my internet screwed up on Thursday, and I was trying to figure that out, and that was its own mess, and I didn't want to get back on restart because I didn't know if the internet was gonna crap out again. But now I'm better rested. I'll be streaming League of Legends and then Hades on my Twitch channel after this, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So you can join me there if you want. Any Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Although I stream on Twitch starting noon on Tuesday and Thursday. Sorry, random thoughts. Like if you liked this video. Go check out the other couple in the series. If you want to get a full breakdown of my thoughts on my problems. This episode was less because there wasn't a lot to say at the end there. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye. Or take care of yourself. Bye.